Testing, testing. Councilmember Espinoza.
Good. My brain's always.
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful. I can hear you too.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem, we are ready to go.
I now call to order the City of College Place City Council Workshop. Will the clerk please take the roll call?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem Peterson,
Present.
Councilmember Jessup,
Present.
Councilmember Cleveland,
Here.
Councilmember Espinoza,
Present.
Councilmember / Dr. Williams,
Present.
Councilmember Sherman,
Present.
Councilmember Boyle.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Fantastic. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. It's now time for public comment. Clerk, did anyone submit a written comment in advance?
No, sir.
Request to speak via telephone or virtually?
No.
Okay. If there's anyone in person that would like to speak, please raise your hand. And I'm guessing we have anyone in virtual attendance? Nobody? Okay, that slims that down. Let's move right into our workshop then. The reading of this was for.
Okay.
Right, that takes place.
First.
What's that?
Yes, first.
What's that?
Thursday.
Thursday. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, well, the workshop topics, there are 6 topics on the agenda for tonight. First, on behalf, Mayor Hernandez, I will present the Law Enforcement Application Day proclamation. The first thing.
Yes.
Thank you. I kept hearing Thursday. Okay, all right. Okay, there we go. Thank you. In place of Mayor Norma L. Hernandez, I'd like to recite this proclamation. Whereas the city across the county on January 9, citizens take the lead to demonstrate support on National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Whereas law enforcement officers of every rank and file have chosen a profession that puts their life on the line every day for their communities. They've answered a call to public service that is demanding and often unappreciated. On National Law Enforcement Day, we have an opportunity to thank them for their service and offer a token of respect. Whereas National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day was founded in 2015 to thank officers across the country for all the daily sacrifices they make for their communities. Concerns of police survivors, the FBI National Academy Associates, the Fraternal Order of Police, the International Association of Chief Police, the Officer Down Memorial Page, Law Enforcement United, the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, International Conference of Police Chaplains, National Troopers Coalition, to only name a few of the long list of organizations supporting inaugural day of the National Law Enforcement Officers Appreciation Day. Since then, nationwide, many more organizations have joined forces to support National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, also known as LEAD, to spread encouragement and respect to these dedicated men and women. Therefore, be resolved, the Mayor, Norma Hernandez, Mayor of the City of College Place, do hereby proclaim January 9, 2025 as National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in College Place, dated the 7th day of January 2025. Chief, you have anything you want to add, or?
I just want to say, we're very grateful to work with City College Place. We appreciate, we feel the support of our community and also our council and mayor. Thank you very much for doing this. And we'll continue to work hard for you. Thank you.
Any of the council members wish to any comment or, yeah, follow? Great, thank you. Okay, now into the workshop topics. There are 6 topics on the agenda for tonight. First, on behalf of Mayor Norma L. Hernandez, I will present, I'm sorry, I'm lost here. Mayor, yes, next is Mr. Radkai join us to review the draft fiscal year 2025-2030 strategic plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Good evening, Happy New Year. Glad to be back here in College Place to go through the final strategic plan document and kind of go through the language. We want to see if it captured everything that we talked about in November during our long workshop on goals and objectives. See if there was anything missing from our discussion, if there's anything confusing, if there's anything we need to make as a final correction to hopefully capture your next 10 years. So cool, it works. So this is a 4-phase project. We are at the tail end of phase 3, which is council adoption. If you recall, starting all the way back in June, we just started on our research and analysis of the previous strategic plan, any other relevant documents and plans that the city of College Place puts out. We conducted our outreach. We had a survey both in English and Spanish that had 124 respondents, and we conducted 21 specific stakeholder interviews, and that encompassed staff members, it encompassed the members of the community, business leaders, leaders at Walla Walla University, and just like a lot of the big integral parts of the community as well, just to get their perspectives. From that, we began meeting during the workshop periods of the city council meetings to talk about the results of that engagement, what the community saw as priorities, what they wanted to avoid, what they wanted to change about College Place, and what they wanted to preserve no matter what in the future. From that, we were able to develop a set of 5 overarching priorities for the strategic plan for the next 10 years and likely beyond, as well as goals and objectives for each of those priorities. So that brings us to this evening where we're going to go through the final document and seek for adoption, if ready, at a subsequent meeting. After that, once City Council has adopted these goals and objectives, we will then begin working with Mike and department leads and the staff to develop specific 30, 60, and 90-day projects to make sure that this plan is implemented. So as you can kind of see, we went from a broad spectrum of what the community needs all the way down to the tasks and assignments that are going to fall upon the desks of those working for the community here at City Hall. So any questions about the process or anything from that point? Okay. So if you recall in the previous strategic plan from 2017, the mission statement, the vision statement was very long. So we were able to go through a couple of wordsmithing exercises to come up with these 2 final versions. The mission statement, as you see in front of you, is building a safe, affordable, and connected community where everyone thrives with vibrant spaces, resilient growth, and shared experiences. So any questions on that? Did that capture what we were kind of aiming for? I know it's been probably about 6 weeks since we met, so. Okay.
Looks good.
Thank you. I can now read the vision statement on the record and not take up a ton of time because it's been significantly compressed, but certainly still has the gravitas that we want to see College Place be in the future. So College Place is a welcoming, vibrant, diverse, safe, and walkable community with a flourishing downtown. It is rich in academics, community events, engagement, acceptance, and respect. Residents and visitors enjoy a community of connectedness, collaboration, recreation, and service. It boasts available housing and robust commercial growth, sustainable financial stewardship, and thoughtful planning for all generations. So I know that all generations, we wanted to capture visitors to the community. We wanted to capture the academic nature and then the academic foundation of the community as well. So that is the new vision statement.
I guess I would interject here. If somebody has a question, just raise their hand.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to go through and ask every council member if they have for each one of these. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. At the end, we can go through the list and
Sure.
ask if there's a general question. But I'm just
Yeah, a wave to me at any
You're
time
right.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
So we narrowed it down to 5 key priorities. We're going to frame our goals and objectives around that. So a connected community, a fun community, a resilient community, a safe community, and an affordable community. So going into these goals and objectives, we further defined a connected community that College Place is a connected, informed, and engaged community where residents, businesses, and institutions actively collaborate to achieve the vision of the community. And we really wanted to talk a lot about the connectedness and making sure that our community was engaged, that City Hall and City Council was engaged with the community as well. So the first goal we talked about was enhancing city communication channels and accessibility. So as you look at the goal is pretty general in nature. The objectives that will guide staff projects and initiatives will guide budgeting and program implementation will go below that. So expand and optimize digital communication, bridge language barriers in the community. I know we talked at length about that during our workshop, and maybe hire dedicated communication staff, or at least have that role professed out of City Hall to better engage the community. The second goal for a connected community was obviously strengthen that community engagement. So the objectives under that is really understand community communication preferences. How do they want to be told about events and upcoming items, council agendas, that sort of thing. Talked about expand face-to-face outreach. That could be anything from coffee with the city administrator to coffee with the cop to, we talked about, you know, council members or staff walking into businesses and just saying, hey, how are things going? What can we do for you? And then finally, increase transparency about city operations. So just some initiatives built around that come out of the implementation plan. Then finally, the third goal is collaborate with the education sector and College Place for more comprehensive engagement with youth. Now, we talked about K-12, we talked about the university here as well. So that gets further defined in your objectives. So partner with College Place, public and private K-12 schools, and Walla Walla University to explore collaborative communication opportunities. Leverage student talent, and that's what we talked about during the workshop. Does Walla Walla University have a communications major course of study? Can we have some of those students help us out? What about the high schools? And then obviously promote youth involvement as well. What do the youth want to do? How can they get involved with the city and the community and introduce policy and ideas? Any questions on a connected community? Okay. Didn't see any frantic waving, so I'm gonna keep going. So a fun community. We talked about College Place as a vibrant hub for recreation, culture, and connection, fostering a sense of belonging while attracting regional, state, and national attention. And I know that was a big topic to talk about. What can we do here? It's going to bring people around the Pacific Northwest, around the country. We have to go to College Place for this. First goal here, be foster community connection through shared interests. We talked about creating opportunities for hobby-based connections, leveraging the new community center opening in 2027, expanding the offerings at the farmers market. The second goal would be develop recreation and activity programs. So launching city-led sports and recreation programs, carving that identity that this is a College Place initiative for sports and rec. Enhance park identity and usability, investing a lot in your parks, as you are today, but continuing that to your other parks in the community. And finally, goal 3, support and expand community events. And I'll go back to our community engagement. A lot of people were saying in the last number of years, the amount of College Place specific community events has been fantastic. And that brings about a lot of community pride. So certainly the main objective for this goal would be to build on existing community events that you have. But then it's also attract and host that signature regional event. When we talk about timber sports, the last time, a Renaissance fair type thing, you know, what can be College Place's niche that people will go to from around the Western United States, all of the United States. Let's think big. And finally, goal 4, strengthen the identity of College Place. So create a welcoming atmosphere for visitors, find and collaborate with a sister city, and use creative district programs for community art. Really have that attraction to be, hey, College Place is here. We need to go check out just College Place. Any questions on fun community? Just the fun goal, obviously. Okay, finally, a resilient community. So a priority area to develop College Place into a resilient, sustainable, and prepared community capable of withstanding challenges while maintaining essential infrastructure and services. So the goal here is obviously to enhance community walkability and accessibility. A lot of people in our engagement talked about, hey, building sidewalks in our neighborhoods, that's great, let's keep that going. So improving sidewalks and infrastructure, and then maintain that invisible infrastructure, your water lines, your wastewater lines, your stormwater lines underneath, making sure that you're maintaining what you have in a proper way for the next number of years. Goal 2 is prepare for emergencies and disasters. So you can never plan, you can never schedule a weather-related emergency, but having your staff and your team planned to address significant weather-related emergencies, and then enhance staff emergency training as well. So obviously law enforcement, fire, your medics are going to have a lot of emergency training, but what about your staff at City Hall? Are they going to have ICS certifications, know what to do in a disaster, know what to do to pull together a group, say, you know, it's never happened before, but a global pandemic happens and you need to continue your operations for the community. So making sure your staff is trained there. Yes.
Well, first off, I think preparing for a global pandemic is completely, ridiculous.
As far-fetched, yeah.
But why would we do that? But one thing that just strikes me about the prepare for emergencies and disasters is making sure that we're prepared for communicating during those disasters. And so maybe that ties back to our communication one, but I was just reading a thing recently about how a lot of the communication during disaster plans have not been updated to the way people communicate today. And so we might want to look at that.
Definitely. And that's definitely a great bit for the implementation part as well. Having worked through 2 federal disasters in my career, communication is probably the biggest foundation that you could have, for sure. All right. So continuing with resiliency in the face of emergencies and disasters, but it's also in maintaining and upgrading your infrastructure, which is goal 3. So obviously establishing a proactive maintenance schedule. You want to take care of what you have even while your community is growing, and prioritize your street replacement and repairs. So taking inventory of what needs to be repaired, match that with your budget, and kind of move forward in that way. Water is a big topic during our discussions and during our engagement as well. So goal 4 of ensuring sustainable water resources was definitely included in a resilient community. Your objectives, so you want to plan for current and future water needs. You want to strengthen those water partnerships you talked about between the city and the irrigation companies, the water companies around here, City of Walla Walla. But also, are you using water sustainably? Promote water-wise landscaping. Wouldn't say we're a very dry area of the state the last couple of months, but it's definitely something to keep in mind as your city grows. And then finally, ensure stormwater management. I know in Tri-Cities the last 6 weeks, I've seen a lot of stormwater failures with all the rain we've been getting. You can definitely see that you need to manage that well, even in a drier part of the state. So improve your stormwater infrastructure and implement sustainable stormwater practices. So those are some great objectives to lead staff into some of those big projects to make sure that this goal is satisfied. Any other questions or comments on resiliency? Okay. Safe community, definitely a big priority for everybody. Cultivate a safe, secure, and well-lit community where residents, businesses, and institutions thrive, supported by robust law enforcement. Let's appreciate them on Thursday. Fire protection and proactive safety initiatives. So the first goal with that would be to improve the community safety infrastructure. We talked a lot during our workshop about illumination of public spaces, make sure that our streets and our sidewalks and neighborhoods are well lit. But obviously leverage technology for community safety. And the specific thing I took out of that was talking about security cameras and cameras in public spaces to make sure that, you can investigate crimes better, you can see what's going on, that sort of thing. Goal number 2, strengthen our police and fire departments. So stabilize the staffing levels, construct and improve public safety facilities, and sustain a strong police presence in the community. Make sure that visibility is out there for residents and visitors alike. Goal number 3, enhance community and institutional collaboration. So coordinate with Walla Walla University Security. How can College Place Police Department and Walla Walla University Security better help coordinate? We talk about communications. If there's an incident, better communicate on those, mutual aid, that sort of thing. And then foster mutual aid agreements or strengthen the existing ones that you have with surrounding agencies. Goal number 4, promote community education and prevention programs. So implement safety education initiatives, provide alternative activities for older teens, give them something to do. Goal number 5, strengthen community standards through codes and code enforcement. So obviously enforce your codes for safety, but also community image. We talked about rundown properties and how we can boost that to make the community look nice. Address substance abuse challenges as well. Those are going to be key things to tackle as part of this goal. Anything jump out as missing, confusing, or needed for a safe community? All right, and then finally, likely the easiest one, an affordable community. But defining affordable community as a priority area is talking about fostering a balanced, thriving community where affordable living is achievable through strategic policy, economic growth, and resource stewardship. So if you recall in our discussion, we want to frame this around what the city can do to make sure that the community is affordable and the finances are attended to in a sustainable manner. So goal number 1 would be develop and maintain sustainable financial policies, the objectives of which are to ensure fair and sustainable utility rates. You want to make sure you're handling your utility rate structure in a way that offers both affordability, but also the ability to maintain and grow. Number 2 would be to adopt policies to promote affordability. Goal number 2 on this is support and grow local business. So prevent that economic leakage, keep people shopping in College Place. Yes.
And what is economic leakage?
Economic leakage, the way I took it, was people going to Walla Walla to shop for something, putting their sales tax dollars there, driving over to the Tri-Cities for something, that sort of thing. So have enough diversity of business and shopping here where people are shopping in College Place, keeping the money local.
Thank you.
And through that, you can also diversify business offerings, which is objective number 2 on goal number 2 as well. Work to help bring in and promote new business through the community. Then goal number 3, facilitate growth within and beyond current boundaries. So you want to address landlocked growth. Is there infill development that can help satisfy residential needs by not hampering with your growth management area, and ways to encourage redevelopment, talking about dilapidated properties or areas of the community that need to grow in the existing spot already. Goal number 4 here, be promote affordable housing and employment opportunities. So encourage affordable and diverse housing from a policy perspective through zoning and development standards is a way to achieve that. Create jobs or attract jobs that support housing needs as well. So you bring employers, they bring their staff in, they grow a company. You need to have the housing where people can afford to live close to work, that sort of thing. Goal number 5, enable flexibility through innovative policies and ordinances. So you want to adopt codes that encourage growth and establish legislative advocacy. So talking about, have some advocacies for policies that are going in Olympia with the county and just around that area, and making sure that the interests of College Place are addressed in creating those. And then finally, demonstrate fiscal responsibility. So be good stewards of public resources and promote long-term financial stability. So these are goals and objectives from a policy level that council's created for staff to implement at that point. Any questions on affordable community? It was probably the most complex one.
Yeah, it's complex. I think discussions I've had just recently in the community, I think the affordable housing is, I'm not sure a city our size, as far as increasing employment opportunities, I'm sure there's around the edges. But I think right now that's a tough issue. We are currently not able to bring in people to fill positions throughout this valley because they can't find a house. And if they do find a house, they can't afford it. And I mean, this is everything from educators to, you know, executives or line workers, even at some of our manufacturing companies. And I don't know, and I know we talk about it quite a bit. But you know, this is what just brought down the Canadian Prime Minister, affordable housing in Canada that was number one issue. I think I say it's a huge issue. It's everywhere.
Mhm.
But you know, I think without our ability to expand what would you say, Mike, where we can expand our ability to build houses with water rights, I'm not sure how we're going to get there. And that's really a linchpin, I think, for a lot of this. We can talk about growing local business. We can talk about this and that and whatever. But when you can't get teachers to come into this valley, or you can't get
Sure.
Doctors.
thank you. Yeah, whatever. That's I mean, that's the linchpin. And so I don't know. It's a tough issue, obviously. We're not the Tri-Cities where you look out into the sagebrush and say, we'll put 1,400 homes there, you know,
Yeah.
without too much, you know, so yeah, it's a problem. It's going to stay with us, I think. It's nice to put it here and think we're going to do something about it, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think small steps. I think this sets a great stage of goals and objectives for the staff to say, okay, what can we do? What is a small step that we can do? And that's up to the staff that's, you know, here every day working, you know, but to grow, is it, okay, redeveloping infill property, you know, taking down old dilapidated houses, but putting things in there. There's zoning changes where you can allow diversity of housing, accessory dwelling units on a property, that sort of thing. So, I mean, there's a whole lot in the tool shed, but I'm going to leave that up to Mike and community development as well. But that's definitely some good guidance. I mean, this will be a tough one during implementation.
We're all struggling with it. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Mike.
yeah, and I would also just say that this upcoming year with the county starting us as well, getting into a comprehensive plan update, and pretty soon before you'll see the proposed countywide planning policies, getting all that lined up, and then really urging them to knock it off with being so conservative about the urban growth area and being more open to that. That's the key, because I mean, I get the back when Growth Management Act was in play, when they started it was a preserve like the farmland and so forth, and various counties have their own definitions to it. But unfortunately, that old countywide plan policy was such that it predicated growth based on all the population from 1990, which is not how the laws read. So us urge them to just grow more, because the big issue here in the city is that it'd be one thing if with our acreage you had diversity of landowners, but the land we annexed, that wasn't really diversity of landowners. It was Tarragon and Mike Corliss for all Martin Airfield. And then for Majania Road, it was Mike McCurian and Craig Christensen. So the issue with that, when you have that few landowners, is really it's at the whims of what they're wanting to do. And that can either speed up stuff, slow down stuff. And that's been the issue. So we need to grow bigger.
Yep.
So, Mike, do you think that the county commissioners, I mean, after our last roundabout with them, that's a good word. Do you see some light?
Yeah, because I'll just say one of the commissioners that was super anti any sort of like growth or any sort of futuristic look at stuff is no longer there. And the folks I'll say the folks in place, they are open to it.
Yeah.
So I think as long as the numbers justify it, and stuff, they'll go for it. I mean, one of the things that I showcased Economic Development Commission last night, which is a very chilling tale, and I'll go to you all next week in admin reports for the new marketing data. You can pull a forecast as far as like what the estimated like median housing value is now and then in 5 years. And in 5 years, when you pull it off Esri Business Analyst, the median home value, if things stay the way they are inside the city here, was just shy of like $600,000. But yet, when you look at the median income growth, it only went up 13,000 to like just shy of like 80. So, and one of our new ed tech commissioners is a banker and was like, you know, I couldn't like lend against that. So that's like a major issue. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, this is really no longer about like just protecting like nature and stuff, but that needs to be married against the fact that, you know, people need to have a roof and stuff. So protecting trees and stuff is good, but you need like a house and stuff. So
Thanks.
You bet. I think I just have one more slide, but. Did you advance me? So what's next with the plan? We're tentatively scheduled. I'm going to go through with a fine tooth comb and make sure that everything's corrected in the final plan document, get it over to Mike. And then next week would be an adoption hearing for that plan through whatever mechanism the city chooses in that regard. But you have a strategic plan now. So the policy level direction of priorities and goals. You've given it objectives to which are the direction that you'll take to achieve this strategic plan. That's going to be some of the leadership led initiatives. It comes into implementation, and that's where we'll work in the coming weeks with the staff, set up a time to go through how are we going to implement these. And as we say, some of these goals you may not be able to tackle the first year, you may not be able to accomplish. So there might be a goal that you start in 2027 or 2028. But what can the city do right now? Even down to 30, 60, 90-day projects to start moving the needle on some of these goals and achieving them. And then that, you know, idealistically leads to success. So achievements, but you want to make sure that you're celebrating your success. Let the community know, hey, the council established this goal and we've worked 80% of the way there. And we want to make sure that everyone knows that we're accomplishing things. But you also want to look at, this is a 10-year plan, but it doesn't have to remain the same for 10 years. So an annual review of your goals and objectives, obviously a consistent review at the staff level of your implementation projects. Make sure you refine those and correct it. It's a living document. You want to make sure that what's achieved is celebrated. And if you achieve a goal, what's the next goal? How are you going to achieve those 5 priorities for the community as well? So with that, unless there's any final questions or comments, congratulations on your strategic plan.
Let's go through it real quick, you guys. If not, it's not a big deal, but let's go through the councilman and see if they have any questions or comments. Mr. Jensen.
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
Mr. Cleveland.
I do want to comment that this looks really great. It does really seem to reflect the discussions that we had. I also really appreciate that while there are a lot of, like you made a great point, that a lot of these things you don't have a lot of control over. We can't just, you know, set the prices of homes around here. But what we are looking at in terms of our objectives are what we do control, things that you can do to influence that. So just those are my 2 comments.
Thank you. Mr. Espinoza, any comments, questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment that I'm happy that I think we translated the voice of the people of our community into the strategic initiatives that we put on paper. And I think that we're going after what our community feels is the most important. So as a steward of that, I think I'm very pleased about what we came up with as a group, and kudos to everyone involved.
Thank you. Ms. Williams.
I just want to say that the actual plan document itself is concise and readable, and so few strategic plans are like that. So I really, really appreciate it. There isn't even, as near as I can tell, there isn't even any 8-point type.
No. That's good to know.
I I don't have any questions. I think it looks great. Thank you.
Well,
I don't have questions and I echo what Melody said about just the report itself. It's just readable. It's something that anybody who's interested in our city and what our plans are and what our development is can look at it and understand what our goals are and how we're going to get there. And strategic plans don't often feel that way. So
Very good.
this is a workshop. Mike, any?
I think it looks great. Thank you, Zach, for working with
You
the
bet.
team to put it together.
It's been fun.
You know, I think from my perspective, it's clean. It looks nice. Yeah, we're not quoting RCWs or something here, page after page or anything like that. But you know, I think a lot of this we had some long work sessions here, as we all remember. But you mentioned perhaps in a year to come back and look at this. I'm wondering, and Mike, it's up to you. But I'd throw out maybe a shorter look forward on that. There's a lot of stuff we threw again. There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of stuff we put in there.
Mhm.
You've presented it back to us after you've organized it. We'll have an opportunity to probably look at it in more detail. I don't know if there's any benefit to revisit it, or if it's something that's just going to take. You have to put it on the stove and let it cook for a while. I don't know, Mike. What do you think?
I mean, I'd say stove and let it cook for a while as far as like having a look at it as we get into budget time, because again, to make a lot of stuff a reality. I mean, money is how that happens. So I mean, a lot of things we're able to do in existing constraints, we'll be working toward them and talks with the team about that. But then things where it may require additional resources, I think it'd be good to then have a deep dive at that time as we're getting a budget for FY 2026.
So back to the year
Yeah,
outlook or
yeah.
something. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
You
Yeah.
bet. And thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. A lot of long hours, and it's clean and it looks concise, and something we're proud of to present, I think, to the community and the process that Michael and the others Michael do to get that out and then have people review it and
For sure.
see what we've been doing.
Yep. And we'll send copies that can be out electronically and
Yeah.
in print as well, and just leave it out up to you.
We're earning our money. So
All right, sir.
yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much. Let's see here if I can get my list straight. Next item, third, Mr. Rizzatalo will present the draft Blue Mountain Humane Society contract for the upcoming year.
Okay, thank you. So, with this item, Blue Mountain Humane Society, they basically are renegotiating contracts with everyone. The older contract was from years ago, and not just Westwood, but pretty much like everyone they had contracts for services with. And with the I'll just say coming out of COVID, a lot of stray animals all over the place. So it's put a strain on their functions. So you'll see there was a lot of back and forth. And I think we ended up in a decent middle ground place. And Chief Tamaris, I'll introduce this, but if you have things to add, please, after I provide the synopsis, the proposal getting up from the $1,000 a month to $1,479. Our proposal to get to that value was to amortize the last 4 years of essentially inflation, because they actually weren't increasing their annual cost all of these years. So I mean, that's the problem. You really have to monitor your revenue versus expense, and they've gone through a litany of leadership transitions too since Sarah retired. So it was trying to take into account what the median inflation was last 4 years, add that all up, and come up to a fairer value, because the initial proposal was definitely out there, but we ended up in a middle ground. And then additionally, honing it down to being able to take animals there from code enforcement or police officers. Earlier contracts was public at large. And that's caused a major issue for them, is trying to cover everything. And I mean, those are a lot of key points. Chief, would you want to add more from your perspective?
I think so, the human perspective is not a local
Yeah.
So it's recorded.
Yeah, good. I always forget. Oops.
I think something to keep in perspective is this is just not a regional Walla Walla issue. This is a statewide issue with a lot of the humane societies. There are too many pets out there, and unfortunately, they don't have enough people adopting them. Some of it's affordability that was briefed to us. So people are giving up their pets, which is causing a problem for them. So yeah, we've gone back and forth. The county and the city are also negotiating their contracts with them. And not just financially, but how can we partner with them to help with adoption plans? Can we promote it? We want to do some creative things to assist them in that regards as well. So, but it turns out it's very expensive to have these animals in these shelters. And with some of the rules that they do, they're a no-kill shelter. They want to go 100% adoption. They if an animal comes in there, they spay and neuter them. There's a cost to that, and the costs have increased substantially. So there's a lot to this, and but I've enjoyed the process. I think that Mike and I have worked hard to communicate with Humane Society, and I think that this is about as good as we're going to get with this contract, and yeah.
Go ahead.
About how many pets are we picking up every month? Do we know?
Not super significant. I do have the numbers and I can email those to you. I don't have them off the
Well,
top of
because
my
this
head.
one was for like 50, right? And then we're charged for more beyond that. So is 50 like more than what we normally do?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So 50 is about what we do?
It's less than that.
50 is less than what we pick up? We're under
Well,
50?
so what law enforcement turns in is less than that
Okay.
annually. The part of the problem is that they did not have a good system of tracking College Place residents dropping off. I mean, they can say, I live in College Place, and just drop off the dog and we get charged for it, or that kind of thing. So,
This is not just you,
same with Walla Walla, same with the county. So the system in
do
place wasn't perfect. So by removing that part of the contract, because they can't sustain community drop-offs, they just can't sustain it.
Mhm.
What I'm concerned about is that's going to put more work on the police department, but I've asked my team and my code enforcement officers will, to do a better job of, we bought tag readers so we can scan pets. We're going to do everything we can to try to get that pet home before we just automatically pick up that dog or cat and take them to the Humane Society. So it's going to be more work on our part to try to help mitigate this.
That sounds like a fun way to do a job.
Yeah, well, it is.
And a dog and a cat?
And then
If they're a good dog, mine would be great.
a lot of our calls are, Bob and Sally are out for a walk and this cute little dog walks up to them
Right.
and they grab him by the collar and they call police department and say, hey, I found this dog. Well, if you just
Turn the collar over. Mhm.
and the dog will probably make its way home. So, we need to help educate the public a little bit with some of that stuff too. And, because it's not necessarily a stray dog, it's just an adventurous dog that wants to go out and explore. Maybe they broke out of the cage. We know a lot of these animals by name and the routine offenders. It's very consistent with some of the things that happen in our criminal community.
Also known aliases.
Yeah, exactly. So, but in Officer Nordman, our code enforcement officer, is doing a really good job. He's really good with the animals and he knows a lot of the homeowners.
Mhm.
So we know a lot of and he's getting better about where to take the dogs and not so much cats. Cats,
Yeah.
we can't really seem to catch the cats.
No,
but
So I guess like the Humane Society is kind of like a library, right? Where people just think this is a free service that's provided and like
Yeah.
the costs don't matter. And so this is where I guess, I mean, it's not a bad gig is to have like the cities compensate if they're not fundraising for it,
Yeah.
right? Because like, isn't that a great avenue for them
Yeah.
to do that? But they do that. I said do. They do that very well. But yeah, I mean, it does make sense if we haven't, because did I read this? We haven't revisited costs in a number of years.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But
Yeah, I
it's
think
still
we feel
kinda
really good about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Quick question. Is this, from what I've read or seen, and correct me, Mike, both, and me for the chief too, this is a lasting impact from the pandemic. We've seen, I was reading articles, people that were got pets when they were,
Yeah.
holed up at home. And then now they're finding out that with the $2,600 a month rent and other things that they're unloading, but is this?
I don't know. I mean,
It's not a huge, okay.
I think we're really good at blaming everything right now on the pandemic.
Yeah.
I do know there's an economic portion to this that people with, choosing to take care, buying dog food and things like that is just expensive.
Yeah,
Having said that, they have people donate dog food, and then they have a program where if people are struggling with financially, they can go pick up dog and cat food at the Humane Society
Yeah.
for free.
yeah,
So, or at low cost. So, if they qualify. So, I mean, there's a lot of programs out there. I think we just all need to partner with the communities, help educate, help people be better, help manage their dogs and cats. And it's a huge responsibility. And some people get into it before maybe they buy a Saint Bernard or a lab that likes to roam but yet they live in an apartment. So, I mean, choosing the location where they're living with the animal is a smart thing to do too. And I think the Humane Society does a really good job with that. But if they're not working through the Humane Society, they're doing it on their own. Sometimes they're getting the wrong animal for their conditions too. And that plays into it as well.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions from anyone? It's kind of an open forum here. Okay.
I just want to make a positive comment in terms of thank you for not just, the Bleeding Hearts actually looking into it deep and saying, okay, why did we come up with this number? I always appreciate that greatly, rather than just thanks for the yes, of course, we want to be, I'm not trying to be critical, but I appreciate being thoughtful on how we came up with the number with the city funds and how we're supporting this. Did I also hear correctly that they've got this sharpened up over there in terms of where these animals are coming from, or that's no longer a case as we're getting charged? Let me go back. Previously, you said that typically they would charge a city or county according to where the animal is coming from.
So I'm sorry. Can I, we part of our contract is people in the community could just drop off
Yeah.
the pets.
But
And, but if we continue that, they wanted to bill us for every drop off.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is how are you going to be able to track if they're really truly from College Place, or did they used to live in College Place? Now they live in Walla Walla. It just became kind of a huge moving forward. That wasn't going to work.
So we sharpened that up. We closed that loophole there.
We closed
Okay. Yeah. Great. So both of those. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Councilman Cleveland? Sherman? Well. Councilman Espinoza, any questions?
No questions.
Great, all righty, good. Thank you so much. Next item on here is the Lions Park Community Center Architect and Engineering Services Contract. Mr. Rizzatolo again, thank you.
Hey, thank you. So, to my understanding, the item was tabled while I was out on my nose surgery. So just to give a little bit of a synopsis of this. So, the community center, the idea was the combination library, commercial kitchen, childcare community room. And we did a RFQ process, determine the best route moving forward. A lot of bidders on this thing. See you, Chief. Design West, they were the top one. They did some of the early level conceptual work on this, so they have a general understanding of what they're dealing with. As far as the gist of how to pay for this, I'll just briefly go over that. For architect, we're still trying to close up the construction piece of it, but architecture we're really good on. So we have a $200,000 county 0.09 grant. And then we have what's called the ELF grant. It was an earmark from the 16th legislative district delegation at the state level for $2.5 million. And that can pay for architecture and construction. And then the latest one, which is a big deal, and we're going to have to do a MOU with them, but the YMCA, they have had a grant as well, another ELF grant to pay for architecture and planning for childcare. Because originally they were thinking of doing a childcare facility across from the YM Park. However, based on member feedback, it turned out more of the need was out in this direction. And also the YMCA board, then it was public, so I can say this, they made the vote to essentially sell the Truax property across from the YMCA to the open market, just to bolster operate the, because all developers who want to partner with the YMCA for park wanted the Y put up basically all the capital and then they would build it. So that really wasn't wise. So they're essentially selling that and then they're going to put the money in the bank and earn interest and so forth. So they're sitting on another ELF grant and I'm working with State Department of Commerce and Karen Hedin, but that grant that they're sitting on for about another 100,000, the state has emailed me where they're willing to let them essentially sub it over to us and give it to us because the original grant was written for either the park property, the Truax property, or College Place in general. So we're sitting pretty good. So that's the general gist of the financial resources with this. Now, the early level conceptual drawings and stuff were just that. That was basically Etch-a-Sketch, if you will, at a professional level. As a future council meeting, if y'all approve getting a contract with Design West, we would work with our project partners. So Rural Library District, the Y, and Community Minded Enterprises on the childcare piece, and then Community College on the commercial kitchen piece, and work with everyone to develop what is the actual floor plan and stuff. Because again, the early stuff was Etch-a-Sketch stuff. So the general gist is if y'all approve the architectural plans, I think it'll probably take about a year. That's just the way of the world with the architecture plans. And then we would then move to demo of the existing building and then construction. As far as the demolition piece, I am waiting for a report from the state brownfields program. But since we enrolled in that, because that was built in the 60s, back when they used like asbestos and lead for everything. So if there's mitigation there, the state will pay for that with that being enrolled in the program. So then we would just be left with the bare demo costs outside of that once you remediate it, and then the construction. So I think in an ideal world, we could get the architectural done all this year and then maybe early 2026, and then work construction 2026 and 2027. Is like a phase 2, if you will, Lions Park. So that is the general gist of things. I will also mention that the footprint of the existing building, we worked with National Park Service to exempt up to 9,000 square feet. So the footprint and land around it from the park, because back when that was established in the 60s, the precursor RCO used like pass-through federal money, and then we got spot audited on it like 50 years later. They're like, where did that building come from? It wasn't in our old Sidwell drawings. So we removed the footprint and land around it. So that means that it's under our auspices and we don't have to get National Park Service and a bunch of crazy approval as we move on this building. We can just do our thing. And that was why in the proposal for the architectural plans, we specified the footprint, because the footprint is the footprint. Because to get National Park Service to approve, it was a 3-year process going back and forth with them on something that already existed. So painful, but we did that. So that's the underlying financials behind it and where the money is coming from, and basically the general status of things, if you will.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, Mr. Jessup, any questions?
I know this was discussed before, so forgive me for forgetting, but how does this affect or not affect the parking lot or the RV sewage area and all that kind of good stuff?
It won't affect that. Literally, the square for the building is the square for the building.
So all of this
yeah.
is just that
Yeah.
9,000
Yeah.
square foot. Everything else is,
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
And stuff in the actual park as they were working on it, some of the stuff underneath was like stubs, so we wouldn't have to be overly extra disturbing stuff we already fixed. So,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cleveland.
Would the new building be a larger area or is it fitting in the same spot, like exact kind of dimensions?
It'll be a tiny bit larger because when you actually look at the square footage of the existing building, it's about roughly 7,000 square feet or so. But the key thing is it's going up. So there's going to be a second story. So that's how we accommodate the square footage.
Well, one thing that I think College Place is good at historically, starting with the water tower, is future thinking. And so I hope that comes through as the building's designed. You know, this last building seems to have lasted, 60 years or so. So hopefully this one lasts even longer and is designed in such a way that it meets future needs for that space. So,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Excellent. Councilman Espinoza, any questions?
Yes, Mike, quick question for you. You were going quite fast through the financing portion of the project. Could you refresh my memory? So what would the total cost of the project be around ballpark?
Okay, so total cost for the construction of this and architecture all in is about $10.1 million. As far as the architecture and construction management and all of that, because in general, the architect ends up being the construction manager, that's about $500,000. And then of that, about 300,000 of that is actually developing the architectural plans. So the immediate expenses are the 300,000. And keep in mind, 200,000 of that is the county .09 grant specifically for architecture. And then with that remaining 100, that can be charged either against the $2.5 million ELF grant that we have, or the other ELF grant that the Y is going to give us that they're just sitting on now. They're selling Truax.
Okay, so there's $2.5 million grants for a total of $5 million between the Y MCA grant and the other one that you mentioned originally.
Yeah. And for the construction, we have additional grants outside of that. So there's also a federal earmark as well for another $2.5 million. And then we're basically fundraising the last section of the construction, which is about roughly $2 million. And I mean, of that, I think that's very easily attainable. From the state has a library capital program and a commercial kitchen program, so it's very attainable.
Okay, so we would, in essence, only be financing $2 million from the total cost after the grants, and that's something that we could go out and get without adding a tax burden to our community.
Well, exactly. I mean, all along in the capital facility plan that was adopted back in November, if you look at how it was split, you'll see that we were not proposing to be zapping current expense or anything to do that.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I think under the when I'm having conversations out in the community, under the heading, what have you done for me lately? They look at the park and it's moving right along.
Yeah.
And really almost always now the next question is, so the building's coming down now too then, right? And I think that's kind of the assumption that it's a one and done. And so so I think when people ask, and I'm hearing this right now,
Yeah.
we can say that we're confident that we'll have it fully financed at a year or two out.
I believe so, because we're only off of the mark by about like $2 million.
Right.
So there's enough ways to slice and dice that.
And that would be, and not that you have a crystal ball, but that would be how far out do you think? 2, 3, 4 years?
Honestly, I believe we should be able to get to a place where we could do demolition and construction sometime in 2026.
Yeah, good. Wow. Very good. We won't hold you to that, Mike, but it's not 2030 or something. Yeah, right. Yeah. Great.
And I will say for the public, those videos we do about projects, we've the one I did like back in December, I made a statement in there that in fact the building is the phase 2. The building is not part of the phase 1, which is the park is a park.
Will the restroom be shut down, the old one, when the new one is put in, or?
Yes, yeah, so it turned out the old restroom has some fascinating history to it we weren't aware of, where the floor was pretty much like shot underneath it and was fairly unstable. So if we were to, originally we were planning to renovate that restroom that's like connected to the building.
Yeah.
But if we were to do that, we were essentially going to have to like blow out the whole foundation and everything. So as part of the park project, there's 2 new CXT restrooms being built to the opposite ends of the park. And that old restroom thing, I mean, until we tear the building down, it'll be used for storage for like stuff Public Works needs over there.
Cool.
But that's going to get demoed with the building because it has structural issues.
That's good to hear. That's
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of communication, we saw the Union Bulletin article as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Quick update.
Councilmember Williams.
As I recall, the reason this was tabled was because the cost
Yeah.
of the thing was like, didn't match. And what I was seeing today, I don't see that page even in there.
Oh. Well, oops. Well, I can put the explanation in writing for when y'all hopefully approve it the next meeting. The reason it wasn't matching, as I verbally went into earlier, was the fact that contract was like all in for also the construction management piece once we get to like the demolition and also constructing the new building. So that's why those pieces versus the actual just architectural plan is different.
Councilmember Sharon. Well. Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. That's great news. I haven't known how to respond here recently, you know, when people have asked that. It's trust me, you know, and all the rest of the things that you would say, but yeah, good to hear. Thank you so much. Now, Mr. Carlton will present the draft utility code. Brian?
Yes, thank you. We currently have a utility discount program available to disabled or over 65 seniors that meet a certain obligation, 125% of the federal poverty guidelines. Currently, we have about 15 citizens in that program, and it costs us not very much every year. About, I think I put it in there. I think it's only about like $1,000 or $1,500 a year currently. Walla Walla offers a utility program as well, and their program is not based on whether you're disabled or a senior. It's based on just the poverty guidelines. So if you meet those objectives, then they'll give you a discount. Their level of cap is 150% of the federal poverty guidelines. We would like to make our policy a little consistent with Walla Walla and expand it to include all citizens in that poverty level income. And just for reference, right now for 2025, a person in a household, an individual who's at 150% would have an income of $22,590. So they would receive a 20% discount on their utility bill. Right now we're at 125%, and I know we had talked about going along with Walla Walla at 150, but it will be our recommendation when this comes back to council to go stay at the 125%. We feel that if we go to 150, the current people at 125 could get eliminated from the discount. And it just sets a better tone, I believe, for the citizens in helping them out. So, and also our code is currently split up between each utility. It's got a section for discount code within each utility. We want to create a separate code that is just for the utility discount that applies to all utilities.
I will say right now, the discount section is like split in like 5 separate codes.
Yeah,
which
it
is
is.
making it a nightmare for BMAC to govern it.
So that's what we're proposing. There's some information there. The code is listed. I think it's up on the screen now. It mirrors Walla Walla's in that they have a cap on the amount of money that they'll put into the discount program each year at 136,000. I'm not sure where they're at financially on that. We would propose putting a cap in of 100,000. That's negotiable. I mean, right now we're only spending like $1,500 a year, so it's really not a large amount, but we would really like to expand that program and help the citizens out.
So we have 15, thank you, by the way. We have 15 accounts under the current program. If you get it to the 125% above poverty level, how many accounts approximately would
Well,
that
that's what we
be?
have now. We're at 125%.
Oh, and that's 15.
Yeah, but we're restricted on who we allow into the program. You have to be a senior or disabled.
I guess that's what I mean. It's not just senior and disabled. You're going towards
We're going
all
towards
household
opening up to
incomes of 120.
anybody
Yes.
that has.
So I'll clarify my question. When you change it to the 125% for household income, approximately how many accounts would that then involve?
We have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really know.
Because we don't really have a table where it like correlates with a house and like how much money
they make.
We don't have a general idea of the household income of the houses in our,
I mean,
Well, we do have like a broad, but it's averaged, so.
yeah.
oh yeah, so that skews the data if it's average. Yeah, okay. All right.
The Utilities doesn't think it's gonna be a huge addition, but there is a number of people that they've turned away because they're not under those rules.
Yeah, well, that's,
And
yeah.
then also there's a BMAC issue involved in this as well, that I'll cover in the next section, and that they're trying to make their program, I don't know, easier, better.
Sure.
And trying to be consistent. So we're trying to oblige with their new changes, and we'll discuss that in the next.
Okay,
point.
yeah, great, thanks.
Yeah.
No questions, but I appreciate the effort to clean up the code, make it simpler, as well as, expand support for those in tight spots.
Councilmember Espinoza?
No questions, thanks.
So I got a little confused there when I was listening to that. Typically, so the city of Walla Walla is at 150.
Yeah,
My experience with poverty level is the higher the percentage, the more inclusive. But
Mike thought the same thing.
like,
It's the opposite.
okay,
So the lower percentage above the poverty line, the 100% federal poverty line for one individual is 15,060.
and that mirrors Walla Walla? What?
No, they're at 150%.
I mean, no,
which is the
but they're using
22
the same math.
Same math,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I know, and I always go back to healthcare, 200% would be yeah, so 40,000 or whatever
Yeah.
or below, you would qualify for charity care.
Yeah, 200%.
But you're saying 125 is the top end. Yeah, okay.
No, 125 is the amount we're at now.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that, but to go to 150, you said we would end up excluding some of those
We
15.
could,
The
yeah.
way we've got this.
We don't see the calculation. We're not privy to that
Right,
information.
right.
That's all handled by BMAC. So they do that assessment and
Okay.
they tell us, yes, they qualify.
So that's BMAC's foundation for that. That's interesting. That's that's backwards. Okay, but it works. Okay.
And we don't really want to be involved, well, we'll
Yeah,
get that in
that-
the next section. but-
I understand. Ms. Cleveland. Williams.
No comment.
Mr. Ryan? Any questions? Well, oh, good, fantastic. Okay, Mr. Carlton, I guess you're on for the next subject there, right? Present the draft Blue Mountain Action Council Low Income Discount Program screening.
Yeah, this is sort of in partnership with the last section. We have a contract with BMAC, and they're renegotiating their contract with all entities in relation to the utility discount program. Currently, we pay $30 per completed application. So we're spending less than $1,000 per year to BMAC under this current contract. They're changing it and they're moving away from the per request fee, and they're going to a set monthly charge. And that charge is consistent amongst all entities that use the BMAC for that service. And all the other, I don't know that, what their charge is. Probably not. I would imagine they would have gone through it and figured out how many do you do and,
I think that,
but.
but when you see our rate, I don't think so.
So they're, and they have all their jurisdictions have agreed with this change in format. And the rate to us is $500 per month. So it is a considerable increase, but from our perspective, we don't have the resources or the desire to want to assess people's income and keep that information here and
Hire an FT to, yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, and hire someone to do it if we have to. It's
Yeah.
much easier. And it's easier for our clerks that if someone's denied, that it's not our responsibility and that they can just go, well, BMAC has denied it. I'm sorry. It helps us in our handling the situations.
It just seems like so much money if they're looking at how many we are, like, are we expecting that we're gonna have a lot more people who are going to be filling out this application
We
to make up?
think there'll be more people once we open
There's-
it up to a broader spectrum of citizens.
I know that right now it's just disabled and seniors, but do we know, granted, we have a total of 15 accounts on that right now.
Yeah.
Do we know how many have been denied? I mean, because,
Have to go, that's a good.
We clicked your microphone off because we had 3 on.
oh, sorry.
No, we don't know how many. We don't really know. We just want to open it up more.
Because
We
I-
did put a cap on the amount we could potentially spend. And
Because I understand that when we open it up to the general public, anybody under that threshold, I recognize that there will be substantially more applications to be processed, as it is right now, at the $30 per application, we spend $450 total for the year if they have to reapply every year.
Yeah, and we
And now
spend
they
about
want us to spend
1,000.
more than that every single month? That feels, I don't know, that feels excessive.
well, we don't really have an option in that regard. Maybe Mike can.
Yeah, I mean, the big issue, which is why they were reassessing everyone by the accounts, is the fact that historically they're at, I'm forgetting the name, but they used that position that would screen people used to get heavily subsidized by this federal energy efficiency program where they were able to offer smaller contracts because the feds were taking the load on that. That has since went away. So that has been the problem. So they end up having to be like, hey, and they already had to lay off a person. So literally to prop up the position left doing this, they were reassessing with everyone. So that's the current situation. So that's why you see that before you. I mean, the other option, because I push back as well against this, but I mean, the other option would be if we did it internally, but I really don't want that kind of information like, here.
Is there a way of asking them for like a, I don't know, honeymoon period where that identifies what the actual College Place load is going to be rather than just, oh, we've decided that per capita, we have to fund this person at this many dollars. You guys owe us this much. You guys owe us this much. Whereas if we end up with only 50 people a year, I mean, that's
Yeah.
not that much. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out a way other than them just saying, we need this much to fund a position
And the
rather
city has
than,
money, so we'll just get the money.
Right.
Yeah.
so that it's actually equitable to our need versus their need.
I mean, to truly understand the need, I could either propose scaling it down where we just do it for like a year period under his contract and get the data that way. I mean, I tried proposing lower numbers and I wasn't able to get it through. So I mean, the only other moving part I could think of would be to do it with duration of time, past that, I can approach it again, but I mean, I approached it multiple ways and got a brick wall on it. So then option 2 at that point would be doing it with our staff. And again, I really don't like having the information because
No,
people get,
I
Yeah.
recognize that.
So
I get that.
there's two issues though.
yeah.
It's, I'm sorry, if you can go through this again. Is it $500 cap?
A month.
Right, but
Every month,
but it's a cap,
Every month.
$6,000 a year.
right,
Unlimited,
forever.
unlimited applications.
Yeah.
Right.
right. So there's that.
Yeah.
And so if it goes from 15 to 75 or to 500, we're fine. You'd be paying, but it's that 20%, but you said, Brian, did you say we put a cap on the total amount we're gonna?
And Walla had a number of 136,000. Walla had an amount of 136,000 cap. I just threw in 100,000. It could be 50, it's whatever. I don't have a concept of how many people are gonna get involved with this.
I'm sorry,
You're gonna get more. Cause it's available to more.
yeah, but to your point, it's 6,000 a year instead of for a year.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree. I'm with you. And we're both of you. I don't like the idea of having it in-house. I like the
Yeah.
separation layer. And I appreciate that
Yeah.
we're putting a brick wall on this side.
Yeah.
All of you also, but at least I feel like Monica and I are. That's just a lot of money. And so I like the idea of definitely a shortened term
Yeah.
to say like, hey, we really need to analyze this and not just, we can't just be giving out money like that.
Do residents have to apply for this discount annually or
Yeah, annually.
so in order for this to be cost effective, 6,000, if they were still on the $30 per household, we would need at least 200 applications per year
Yeah.
to break it even, which potentially, but we're not talking 200 people, we're talking
Yeah.
households.
It does say per completed application is what we're paying. So even if they're,
It's a household.
yeah, but even if they're
Yeah.
rejected, we're paying for that.
There's a difference.
We have no idea here
Yeah.
because you now are 65 or,
Yeah.
if people get social security, any pension, they don't qualify for that 20,000. All right. So you're looking at, at that 65 or above or in that 20,000 cutoff. But what we don't know, you're right, is how many people, we don't know. Is it going to be 100? Is it going to be 500?
Well, according to the feedback from DMAC on the Walla side is they have a hard time getting people accepted into the program at 150%. I don't know how many they have. I don't have that data.
I mean, that's why I was thinking, at least, given the fact some of the lower numbers I was proposing, I got no, and then the fact I do understand the unknowns here. The one moving part I think is to propose a limited duration contract to at least then get the data.
For College Place, correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong. My understanding is that if you are a renter, City of College Place only accounts for the owner of the property, correct? It does not go to the renters. Is that correct?
That's spelled out in the code.
I
believe so.
Because, so here's,
Yeah.
and the reason that I'm asking, it does connect, I promise. The reason that I'm asking is not all people under that 125%. Many of them, I believe, in our city that will fall under that are renters, which means they're not going to have a utility account anyways.
Well, they're typically associated to an account. The renters are.
So if I'm a property owner and I have a renter and I have a utility account with the city and but it's under my name because I'm the property owner, my tenant can apply to have the utility discount, even though I own the property and the account is under me? Because that can greatly reduce how many of, I don't know. And I know that you guys don't know all these numbers. I guess that's part of why having a shortened
Yeah.
term, any of those things, I just feel like some of this giving them $6,000 for 1 year feels like a steep jump right now. That's all.
I'm not sure what choice we have.
I would say limited duration contracts. That way we actually get the data, because right now this is like spit against the wind. I have no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good point.
Yeah.
Very good points. Yeah, no. Councilman Jessup? You don't want to, come on,
yeah.
Mr. Cleveland. No. Questions? All right.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Mr. Espinoza, any comments, thoughts?
Nope, no questions. I echo the concerns of the group.
We don't want to, we've chewed on this one, haven't we? Yeah. All righty, great. I think that brings it to the end, correct? Wow, slugged through that one. Closing items, please note that there is an administrative report in your packets detailing the outcome of the yeah, go ahead.
One thing to that with the closed items, I just wish to congrats Mr. Carlton and then Mrs. Schmick. Once again, we had a clean audit both at the federal, the state, and the accountability stuff. So that's great.
That was my next sentence here, if I read it correctly this time. Yeah. So tell us, Brian, brag. How'd it go?
How do you do it?
Oh, no. Just,
Well, it was pretty extensive in the federal audit because we have a lot of federal loans. So if you have grant revenue in excess of $750,000 in a year combined, you have to go through a federal single audit. So we do exceed that. So since I've been here, we've had to do a federal audit, and then there's an accountability audit, and then the financial statement audit. And I think they all went well. They focus on different things every year. This year, they seem to focus on payroll was a big one to focus on, rates, and actually the holiday and vacation accrual calculations they focus in on. And although we are a cash-based city, they do focus in on, we have to do a Schedule 9, it's called, and it's a listing of our liabilities. So we have, although we are cash basis, we have to calculate our liabilities for them. And there's a few other schedules that are accrual based that we have to provide even though we're cash based. That's sort of weird.
no, I just, from my finance background, that's just amazing. I mean,
No,
they're always
got a
gonna,
clean audit. We did have that finding 2 years ago,
yeah,
which we felt was unjust,
sure.
but no, it's good to have a clean audit.
As I always say, the auditors shoot the wounded after the battle's
It
over,
was
so,
a long
Yeah,
time
so,
frame. It
yeah.
went from
Yeah.
September through December.
yeah, good job. Proud of you. Anyway,
Yeah, I was part of that exit. So of course there
Yeah.
was lots of yelling and screaming and crying, but we suffered through. You said you were talking with Ginny though about having to do different like GASB or switching up something.
That's the
That's
cash
doing a-
basis versus accrual.
Oh, okay. Were you making a change going forward?
No, we don't have that planned.
Okay, I thought
don't
that
have
you
it
said that you
planned, not in my tenure.
Okay.
so one thing I would add, if you look over the last 4, 8 years, Brian, we've talked a lot about new software for you, correct?
Yeah,
your-
we have.
Yeah, we.
I mean, we have it
Yeah.
and we're using it. Is that helping? I mean, it seems like that's assisted you in the budgeting and the monitoring and then
It's definitely helped in the budgeting process. We're still working through the financial reporting side to get the reports that we'd really like. We haven't had a lot of time to
sure.
to work at, because you can write your own reports within the system, and we just haven't had time to do that. So I think the end game will be a lot better reporting. I personally like the system. Everything is stored in the system. All the documents are there. So when you go in and look up a AP document, you can see the documents attached and you can bring it up and see the associated documents.
So we're going to a room somewhere, looking through boxes, look for paper. Yeah,
We
right.
don't even.
Excellent,
We
excellent.
retain those papers for a year
Yeah,
where we used to
yeah.
have to keep them for 7 years, but now our computer system is the record of.
Fantastic. Thank
So
you.
it's worked out. And the budget, I think, is a lot better
Make us proud.
process.
Yeah, thank you. Well, at this point, I guess, for the good of the order, is there any other questions or comments anybody wants to make? Mr. Espinoza, are you? Yeah.
I just want to congratulate the team on a successful audit. That was a big order for the team, and that was great. Congrats to Brian and everyone else in the finance team.
Thank you so much. Well, if nothing else, I'll now conclude the workshop at 6:56 PM. Thank you.
Good night.
Back to your classes, huh?
Well, I just have a few more things to do before bed.
You know, if I was a professor, I told my daughter I'd only have multiple choice. All this essay stuff is a bunch of garbage, you know, you just need to. Oh, man, I'm not gonna read that. I'm not gonna read that and.
I have this crazy idea that I'm trying to prepare my students for their actual jobs.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I've never had a job where I ran across multiple choice questions.